Welcome to Alternatify, the channel where we delve into the fascinating depths of historical what-ifs. I'm your host, and today we embark on a truly monumental thought experiment. We're going to challenge one of the most pivotal moments of the 20th century. Imagine a world where the war to end all wars unfolded in a dramatically different fashion. What if Great Britain, the colossal empire of its age, had chosen a path of neutrality in 1914? The implications are staggering. This isn't just idle speculation. It's an exploration of ripple effects, profound consequences, and the very fabric of the world we know. We'll uncover potential winners, devastating losers, and the global landscape that might have emerged. Prepare to challenge your assumptions and broaden your historical perspective. The summer of 1914 was a powder keg, ignited by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. A complex web of alliances, treaties, and long simmering tensions quickly pulled Europe into an escalating crisis. Germany's violation of Belgian neutrality became the immediate, undeniable trigger for British involvement. Britain's pre-war stance was clear: a treaty obligation to protect Belgium's sovereignty. Yet we must consider an alternative path. What if a shift in government, a surge in public opinion, or a renewed focus on colonial interests had swayed the decision-makers? There was, after all, a strong pacifist movement within Britain and significant governmental hesitancy regarding intervention. Arguments against war were compelling: the immense human and economic cost, the deeply uncertain outcome, and the very real risk to the British Empire's vast global network. Without the British Expeditionary Force, the Western Front dynamics would have been profoundly altered. Germany's Schlieffen Plan, designed for a swift victory, would have faced significantly fewer obstacles. The French forces, though formidable, might have been overwhelmed much sooner. This scenario points to a much shorter conflict, perhaps even a matter of months rather than years. The likelihood of a decisive victory for the Central Powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire, would have increased dramatically. The sheer weight of their combined military might, unopposed by Britain, could have been irresistible. The implications of a German victory are truly profound. Europe would have been reshaped, dominated by a powerful German empire. This would have led to significant changes in territorial control, economic influence, and cultural dominance across the continent. Let's consider the potential winners in this alternate reality. Germany would undoubtedly emerge as the dominant European power, securing territorial gains and expanding its influence. Its economic and cultural might would be unparalleled. Austria-Hungary, with German support, would likely crush Serbia and maintain its sprawling empire, perhaps even solidifying its multi-ethnic structure. The Ottoman Empire, too, might have survived, retaining its territories and potentially expanding its reach in the Middle East. And what of Britain itself? In the short term, it would have avoided the catastrophic costs of war. This could have allowed for continued colonial expansion and sustained economic prosperity, free from the immense debt and human toll. Now, for the potential losers. France would face an incredibly difficult struggle without British support. It would likely suffer significant territorial losses, devastating economic damage, and a severe diminution of its global influence. Russia, isolated and vulnerable, might have seen an even earlier collapse of its Tsarist regime. The rise of communism, if it occurred, could have taken a very different, perhaps more brutal trajectory. Belgium, tragically, would face occupation, economic devastation, and immense hardship for its population. The British Empire, despite short-term gains, might have faced a long-term decline. Without its pivotal role in the Great War, its global dominance could have been challenged much sooner by rising powers, particularly the United States. The United States itself would have had far less inclination to enter the war without British involvement. Events like the sinking of the Lusitania, which galvanized American public opinion, might not have occurred or held the same weight. This could have led to prolonged American neutrality, delaying its emergence as a global superpower. One of the most striking consequences of British neutrality would be the absence of the Treaty of Versailles, Without its harsh terms, Germany would not have suffered crippling reparations or hyperinflation. This could mean no fertile ground for the rise of Nazism, potentially preventing World War II as we know it. If a global conflict did occur, it would be a vastly different affair. It might be more localized, with entirely different alliances and motivations. The very nature of 20th century warfare would be fundamentally altered. The British Empire, unburdened by war, might have continued its colonial expansion. Areas that were decolonized in our timeline could have remained under British control for decades longer. This would paint a world map with different empires and power dynamics, a truly unfamiliar geopolitical landscape. The United States, without the impetus of two world wars, might have remained largely isolationist. Its rise to global prominence could have been significantly delayed, with different economic and political forces shaping the 20th century. Its industrial might would still be formidable, but its global reach far less pronounced. The cultural landscape would also be transformed. The post-World War I artistic and intellectual movements, born from the trauma of the trenches, might have taken different forms or simply not emerged at all. The Roaring Twenties, the Jazz Age, and the Modernist movement as we understand them could be absent from history. Technological advancements too would follow a different trajectory. The urgent demands of total war accelerated innovation in fields like aviation, medicine, and communication. Without that pressure, the pace or direction of these developments could have been significantly altered. Let's consider specific regional impacts. France, facing defeat, might have seen the collapse of its Third Republic, leading to a very different form of government. Germany, without the constraints of Versailles, could have pursued increased aggression, though perhaps in different directions. Russia's fate, as mentioned, would be profoundly different. The Russian Revolution, if it happened, might have been delayed or taken a less radical course. The United States, focusing on domestic development, would likely have a powerful economy but less global influence. The British Empire, despite its continued strength, would face challenges from other rising powers. This thought experiment inevitably leads us to a complex ethical inquiry. Would a world without World War I, as we know it, have been a better world? It's a question without a simple answer. On the one hand, the pros of avoiding such a catastrophic war are immense. Millions of lives would have been saved, preventing unimaginable suffering and devastation. A more prosperous and equitable world might have emerged, free from the staggering economic and social costs of the conflict. However, there are significant cons to consider. Without the war, the progress in dismantling empires and promoting self-determination might have been much slower. The fight for human rights and social justice, often accelerated by global upheaval, could have been delayed. The absence of the League of Nations and later the United Nations would mean a lack of crucial international cooperation mechanisms. The subjectivity of better becomes starkly apparent here. It depends entirely on what values one prioritizes: peace and prosperity, or social justice and self-determination. History, as we know, is a complex web, not a straight line. Speculation is inherent in these what-ifs, and definitive answers are elusive. So, what can we learn from this journey into an alternate 1914? Firstly, it underscores the immense importance of contingency. Seemingly small decisions, or the absence of them, can have truly enormous consequences, rippling through generations. Secondly, it highlights the profound complexity of cause and effect in history. Events are interconnected in intricate ways, making long-term predictions incredibly difficult. A single change can unravel an entire tapestry of outcomes. Thirdly, this exercise reinforces the value of critical thinking. It encourages us to question assumptions about historical inevitability and to engage in a more critical analysis of the past. History is not a fixed narrative, but a dynamic interplay of choices and circumstances. Finally, it demonstrates the enduring power of the what-if scenario. It's a powerful tool for understanding history, for dissecting its mechanisms, and for imagining the countless possibilities that lay just beyond the path taken. A single decision, Britain's choice in 1914, truly had the power to reshape the entire 20th century. We've explored a world that might have been more peaceful, more prosperous, or perhaps equally fraught with different conflicts. The beauty of alternative history lies in its ability to challenge our assumptions, to question inevitability, and to explore the countless possibilities that lie hidden in the past. History, after all, is a dynamic, ever-evolving story, and we've only just scratched the surface of one of its most intriguing untold chapters. What are your thoughts on this alternate timeline? Do you agree with our conclusions, or do you see different outcomes? Share your opinions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the what if, please like this video, share it with your fellow history buffs, and subscribe to Alternatify for more thought-provoking historical explorations. And don't forget to suggest your own what if ideas for future videos.